Namaste, hello and Cam Chu. I am Mr. Math, your go-to guide to unlock the fascinating world of mathematics. Today we are going to see quadratic equation and just not only going to see but going to conquer. Let's start. Quadratic equation. So let's start with the definition. Quadratic equation. So नाम से ही समझ आ रहा है कि इक्वेशन है, ये क्वाड्रेटिक क्या है, ठीक. So from name it's a quadratic equation. Equation you all know. So let's start. An equation with the one variable. An equation with the one variable in which the highest power of the variable is 2. So an equation with the one variable. So important things to keep in mind is variable is 1, highest power of that variable is 2, is known as quadratic equation. So seems very easy, that much. So variable is 1, so there would be only one variable x, and the highest power of that variable will be 2, so x square, right? So from definition seems to be very easy. So let's go to the general form of that equation. So what is the general form of the quadratic equation? General form is ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0, where, yeah, that's the main thing to keep in mind. Ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0, where a is not equal to 0. Why? Will tell you. And a, b and c belongs to R, right? So a is not equal to 0. Why a is not equal to 0? Let's put it and check it. If a is equal to 0, then I would get only bx plus c is equal to 0. And from the definition, right, we know that, what is the definition? Yeah, equation with the one variable and highest power of that variable is 2. So what is the highest power here? Highest power is not 2, highest power is 1. In only bx plus c, highest power is only 1. That's why it doesn't make quadratic equation. So a cannot be 0. That's a very important condition to keep in mind, right? So I hope you guys are fine till now. So ये तो हो गई general form, right? So let's check. Let's write an quadratic equation. For example, x square plus 5x minus 6 is equal to 0. This is an quadratic equation, right? This is an example of quadratic equation. कुछ नहीं किया, just a की value 1 है, b की value 5 है and c की value minus 6 है. I am just writing random quadratic equation so that you guys can feel ये ABC क्या चल रहा है इधर, ABC और x जो कुछ नंबर तो दिखे, मैथ पढ़ने आए तो कुछ नंबर तो दिखना चाहिए. Yeah, that's why I wrote that x square plus 5x plus 6 is an quadratic equation, right? So till now we have just looked at the definition. What is the definition? The variable should be only one and the highest power of that variable should be 2. And what is the general form? General form is ax square plus bx plus c, where a not equal to 0 and abc belongs to r. Abc belongs to r, that's quite simple, right? Anybody can assume that abc belongs to r, but it is mandatory to write that and to keep in mind that also. So till now we are good. Now you will say, Mr. Math, we have gone through the definition and general form, but what does it make sense? What is that we need to, what will be asked in the exam? Why this is the quadratic equation is so big to, so hard and so this much complicated to learn? Yeah, we'll go through that. First we'll go to the roots. What is the roots, right? There is no rocket science. There is no rocket science in the roots, right? Roots is just a value of the x, value of x for which quadratic equation is 0. तो अभी हमने लिखा था ना, एक्स स्क्वायर प्लस बी एक्स प्लस सी इक्वल टू 0 है, तो x की कोई वैल्यू होगी जिसके लिए ये इक्वेशन 0 होगा, राइट? तो x की ऐसी कितनी वैल्यू हो सकती है? x can take how many values so that this equation will be 0? X can have only 2 values, at most 2. This means there would be only one value or 2 value, right? There cannot be 0, right? There will be always, it may be imaginary, but that we'll see in the future, but there would be only one value or 2 value. So x would be only x. We denote the roots by alpha and beta, right? So the roots of any quadratic equation will denote by alpha beta. If both roots are same, then we will write alpha and alpha, right? So there would be one root or the 2 roots of any quadratic equation, right? So till now we'll gone through the definition, general form, and what are the roots, right? Now you might be curious, Mr. Math, you told us about the roots and quadratic equation. Now it would be simpler that if you explain that what is an quadratic equation and how I can find the roots of any quadratic equation, right? That's the obvious thing you would have expected from me, right? So दिखा देता हूँ, सॉल्व करके दिखा देता हूँ, तो आपके लिए भी इजी होगा, राइट? सो सॉल्व करने से पहले मेथड दिखने पड़ेंगे, राइट? What are the methods to calculate the roots of any quadratic equation? So till now you know that an equation would be having one root or 2 roots, right? Any quadratic equation would be having one root or 2 roots, right? So I have written an quadratic equation here, x square plus 5x minus 6 is equal to 0, right? In this lecture we would find the roots of the quadratic equation, right? So there are 2 ways to find the roots. One way is factorization. Right? And other way is quadratic formula. Right? नाम बड़ा है, दर्शन छोटा है, सिंपल बात है. So factorization and quadratic formula. What are these 2 things? Let's start with factorization, right? These two are the methods to find the roots of any quadratic equation. There are no big deal in this. So you would be given an quadratic equation. In your exam you will be asked that this is the quadratic equation, right? And kindly tell me what are the roots of this quadratic equation, right? This is the most basic and most asked question in any of the exam, whether it's board or any competitive exam or anything, right? So if a quadratic equation is in your syllabus, you would be definitely asked to find the roots of any quadratic equation, right? There are two methods. Keep in mind that first method is factorization and other method is quadratic formula, right? First we'll check factorization, right? Let's go through it. I am writing once again I am writing that quadratic equation x square plus 5x minus 6 is equal to 0. Now factorization, right? I am writing like this first: ax square plus bx plus c. So okay, this is the equation. Look, let me write like that. That would be complicated for to understand, right? First I am writing x square plus 5x minus 6 and x square plus 5x plus 6. ठीक है? Yeah, I'm writing like this. So why I have written two equations? I am only making you learn the only how to factorize and find the roots, right? But why I would have written two equations? I am telling that. Look at this signs here. There is only difference in two equations, right? Here I have written plus and here I have written minus. Okay. So if there is a minus before the last term, c term is like I have written that ax square plus bx plus c before, right? Here is the c. If c is negative, then there would be minus here, right? And if c is positive, it would be plus here, right? So if c is minus, then you need to factorize in subtraction. Factorize in subtraction means 6. You need to find the factor of 6 in such a way that their subtraction is 5, right? So find the factor of 6 in such a manner so that their subtraction is 5. Means find any two factors of 6 so that if we subtract both of them, we'd get 5, right? So can you find these factors? Easy peasy, very easy. 6 into 1, right? 6 into 1. So 6 minus 1 is 5. Simple. So factors of 6 in such a manner that if we subtract both of them, we'd get 5. Sorry, this is 5. 6 minus 1 is 5. Right? And if there is plus here, if c term is positive, so we need to find the factors of 6 in such a manner that we would get b term. 5 was what? B term, right? B here. So if there is a positive sign here, then we need to find the factors in such a manner that the sum of the factors is equal to b term, right? So can you find the factors of 6 so that their sum is b term? B term is 5, right? So b is 5. So factors of 6 in such a manner that their sum is 5. Can you find this? Easy. 3 into 2 is 6 and 3 plus 2 is 5. So 5 is what? B term, right? So 3 and 2 are the factors. 3 and 2 are not the factors. 3 and 2 are the factors of C term, right? We have not find the roots now. I am just we are just on the way to find the roots, right? 3 and 2 are not the roots. Keep in mind that 3 and 2 are just we are in the process to find the roots. We have not find the roots till now, right? So what we have seen, if C term is negative, then we need to find the factors of C in such a manner that if we subtract both of the factors, we get the B term, and if C term is positive, then we need to find the factors of C term in such a manner that if we sum both of the factors of that C term, will get B term, right? So simple. If there is a minus, we need to subtract both of the factors, and if there is a plus, we need to add both of the factors such that we get B term, right? So till now it should be clear. Let's write. So for the first equation, x square plus 5x minus 6 is equal to 0. We have found the factors so that their subtraction is 5. So 6 and 1, right? So we'll write like this: x square plus 6x minus x minus 6 is equal to 0. Why I have written like this? I have made 5x, like I have written 5x in such a manner that 6x minus x is equal to 6. Like 6x minus x is equal to 5x, right? So why I have written like this? Because the factors are 6 and 1, right? I told you previously, if the subtraction, we need to find the factors in such a way that if we subtract both of them, we get the B term. So we have written like that, 6x minus x, right? Now common. Find the common in both. X square plus 6x. What is the common? X. I can take x common. X plus 6 I have got. Now minus x and minus 6. What I can get common? Minus 1. X plus 6. Oh. So, Mr. Math, you made both that same, right? So this I want to get. I wanted to get this thing, so that I made that factors 6 and 1, right? So now x plus 6 is also common. So x plus 6 is common in both. So now from this we have arrived on this, right? X plus 6 and x minus 1. So now what are the roots? Now can you tell me what are the roots? If x plus 6 into x minus 1 is 0, so what we can derive from this? X plus 6 is 0 or x minus 1 is 0, right? If any of the term is 0, then equation is 0, or both of them are 0, right? Both of them simultaneously cannot be 0, because x can be minus 6 or x can be 1, right? So if x is minus 6, so this equation is 0, and if x is equal to 1, then also this equation is 0, right? So what are the roots? Can you tell me now? What are the roots? What are the roots? Roots are minus 6 and 1, because what are the definition of roots? Definition of root is the value of x for which quadratic equation is 0. This is the same thing here. Value of x minus 6. If the value of x is minus 6, then this equation is 0, right? And if and same for minus 1. Oh, sorry, plus 1. Right? If value of x is minus 6 or value of x is plus 1, then this equation is 0. So what does it mean? It means that if x is equal to minus 6 or x is equal to 1, this equation is 0. It means that roots of this equation are minus 6 and 1. Got it, guys? It is clear? Right. So this we have seen the case for when c term is minus, right? So if c term is minus, we need to find factors of c in such a manner that if we subtract them, we get the b term. And further, we just need to simplify that. We took common x from both of them, and then we took common x plus 6. There's the simplified. Just I have simplified this. This is the basic math, right? So let's take another example. What I have written further: x square plus 5x plus 6, right? So here c term is plus, so we need to find the factors of 6 in such a manner that if we add both of them, we get b term 5, right? So 3 into 2, correct? So x square, I would write 5x as the sum of these two, 3x plus 2x plus 6, right? Now common, take a common, right? X plus 3 is also common, right? So now again, if x is minus 3, so x plus 3 is 0, right? Or x plus 2 is 0. So x is equal to minus 3 or x is equal to minus 2. These are the roots, correct? If x is equal to minus 3 or x is equal to minus 2, then this equation would be 0. So roots of this quadratic equation are minus 3 and minus 2. Right, guys? Easy. So till now what we have seen? We have seen the definition of quadratic equation. There would be only one variable and the highest power of that variable would be 2. Correct? General form: ax square plus bx plus c and a not equal to 0. Correct? Yep. Then roots. Roots value of x for which quadratic equation is 0. Correct? Roots can be 1 or 2. Correct? Yeah. Then two methods to find the roots of any quadratic equation. First method is factorization. Second method is quadratic formula. Correct? So in factorization, how we factorize? Based upon sign of the c term. If c term is negative, then we find the factors of c in such a manner that subtraction of that both factors are b term, correct? And if c term is positive, then we find the factors of c term in such a manner that addition of the both factors are b term, correct? Yeah. Till now we have seen this thing. Let's do another example so that it would be clear. Can you guys tell me the factors of this? Pause the video and write the answer in the comment section. Okay. I hope you guys have found the roots. Okay, let's solve. C term is positive. C term is positive, it means that we need to find the factors of 8 in such a manner that their addition is B term, which is 6. So 8 के फैक्टर निकालो भाई, 4 इंटू 2, ठीक है, 4 टू 8, करेक्ट. सो इन दोनों के सम के फॉर्म में लिख दो 6 को, 4x प्लस 2x प्लस 8, करेक्ट, कॉमन. Correct. X plus 4, x plus 2. Correct. So x is equal to minus 4, x is equal to minus 2. These are the roots. So how many of you got correct? I hope everyone. So roots of this quadratic equation are minus 4 and minus 2, right? So we have seen the first method of calculating the roots of any quadratic equation, right? Now there is another method also. What is the another method? Quadratic formula, right? Let's look into that. So another method for quadratic formula. Another method for calculating roots, which is quadratic formula, right? So quadratic formula. We denoted roots with alpha and beta, right? So that's a simple formula. Put the values in that and you will get the roots. It's very easy. There is no cases like if C term, this factorization we have seen that if C term is negative and if C term is positive, we need to do like this, like that. There is no cases in this. That's a simple formula. Minus B plus or minus under root B square minus 4AC divide by 2A. Right, what is ABC? पूरी ABCD आ गई भाई. ABC क्या है? So what do you guys remember the general form? AX square plus BX plus C is equal to 0. ये पढ़ा था ना, right? Remember that. So this ABC are this ABC. Got it? So one time we will take plus here and other time we will take minus here and we will find the roots. Correct? So that's very simple as compared to factorization, right? But both of the methods have their own use cases. So you cannot tell like this seems to be very simple, I'll always use this method. And so this is not the way. In your even boards exam or any competitive exam also, you need to feel comfortable in both of the method. Otherwise you'll not get the able to solve all the questions, right? You'll need to able to solve some questions but not all. So you always go through both of them and solve some questions using both the method, right? So let's take an example. Say I'll take the same example, right? X square plus 5x plus 6. This was the example, right? And what are the roots of this equation? We calculated that previously, right? Roots of this equation were minus 3 and minus 2, right? So we would we will find the roots using quadratic formula method, and we will verify that we will get minus 2 or we will get minus 2 and minus 3 as the roots or not, right? So let's calculate first root alpha. Minus b plus under root b square minus 4ac divided by 2a, right? So minus b is minus 5 plus under root b square is 25 4, A is 1, C is 6. Divide by 2 times A is 1. Right? So, tell me guys, बताओ क्या आ रहा है? -5 प्लस √1 आ रहा है, डिवाइड बाई 2. So -5 plus √1 which is -4 by 2 which is -2. So एक तो आ गया सही, ठीक है. So अल्फा इज -2. यहाँ पे अब माइनस कर देते हैं, ठीक है. अल्फा आ गया, बीटा क्या होगा, इस यहाँ पे माइनस बोला है मैंने, माइनस कर दो. So क्या आएगा, -1 -2 -5 -1 by 2. बाकी सब तो सेम ही है. So -3 आ जाएगा इधर से. करेक्ट. So we have verified that roots of this equation are -2 and -3. From factorization we also got the same roots, and from quadratic formula method also we got the same roots, right? So method कोई भी हो, there would be any method you will use, you will always get the same roots of any particular quadratic equation, right? So if you want to go Delhi to Mumbai, if you go by flight or you go by train, your destination would be Mumbai itself. Yeah. So there would be no case like if you're going to flight, you will reach Ahmedabad. Correct. Destination would be Mumbai only. So if you use factorization method or quadratic formula method, you will always get the same roots. If quadratic equation is same, there would be always the same roots, whether you use factorization method or quadratic formula method. So guys, now you should be comfortable in finding roots of any quadratic equation, right? So now what we have seen: method, definition, general form, roots, methods to find the roots. Correct. Now there is some small tricks, or what you say, there is a small tricks so that you can tell some information about the quadratic equation just right at looking at it. Just looking at it, you don't need to calculate anything. Just looking at it, you can tell some things, some important information about that equation. So we'll do that, right? So I am writing the general form here: ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0, right? Now if I tell you, tell me the sum of the roots of this equation, tell me sum of the roots of this equation, what will you do? You will tell Mr.Math, we need to find first both of the roots of this equation, then we will add both of them, and that would be your answer. Correct? Yeah, you guys are correct, 100% correct. But what if I tell you, you can just tell me the sum of the roots just looking at it without calculating both of the roots? Yeah, you can just tell the sum of the roots at looking at the equation without calculating both of the roots. Yeah, that's a formula for that. Sum of roots is minus b by a. So if you are given any equation and you are told to tell the sum of the roots, then you don't need to find both of the roots and add them. Just tell minus b by a. What is minus b by a? So for example, we'll take this 6x plus 8. Right? This is the equation. What is b by a here? Minus 6 by 1, which is minus 6. Sum of the roots of this equation is minus 6. And if you guys remember, we have found the roots of this equation. Here we got the roots minus 4 and minus 2. Add them guys. Minus 4 minus 2. What is the sum? Minus 6. And here what we have got? Minus 6. Verified. 100% verified. So just looking at it, you can tell some of the roots. Math is nothing but a magic. Correct? There is no magic. That's just for fun. There is always a proof behind any logic. So if you need the proof, tell me in the comment section. I'll post another video and upload it so that you can get the proof of this formula, how we can find that, or just Google it. So, and same, there is another method. You can tell the product of root as well. So method is, if you find both of roots and then multiply them, you will get product of roots. But just looking at it, we can tell product of roots as well. Product of roots, right? C by A. C by A. Let's check an example. C is here. What is C here? 8. By A is 1. So 8. The product of roots of this equation is 8. Now let's verify. We have found the product here. We have found the roots here, right? Minus 4 and minus 2. Guys, multiply them. Minus 4 into minus 2, which is 8. Correct. What we have found here? C by A. C is what? 8. A is 1. 8. 8, 8. 8 is equal to 8. Verified? Verified. So, what we have seen? Definition, general form, roots, methods to find roots. What are the methods? Factorization and quadratic formula. Now we have seen some tricks to find some of the roots and products of roots directly by looking at the equation, right? So guys, keep in mind that. Now there is another thing. There is another terminology, I would say. Terminology. What is the terminology? D. D is called discriminant. Discriminant D. So you will think that, Mr. Math, what is D here? We have seen everything in quadratic equation, roots, finding roots, some of the roots, trick, that, everything. But we didn't find any need to introduce this terminology. Why you are introducing this another terminology? If we have found the roots, then we know almost everything about quadratic equation. Then what is the need of D? There is a need, and we have already seen that. D is equal to B square minus 4AC. That's a simple thing. D is nothing but just a value, right? B square minus 4AC. B square 4AC, that's the same thing again. This is the B, this is the A, and this is the C, right? So ax square plus bx plus c, then D is B square minus 4AC. If you find, if you remember, we have seen the roots, quadratic formula, right? So there was a formula, minus b plus minus under root b square minus 4ac, right? That was D only, correct? So you can remember in this way also. This formula, minus b plus minus under root d by 2a, correct? So D, there is a D only. B square minus 4ac is D. D is discriminant. Now you will say, you just introduce a terminology and formula. What is the need of D? Why it is important? Why the people have invented D? Right? So let's look into that. So remember that if you are told to calculate D of the any equation, D is B square minus 4AC. That's a simple formula, correct? Now, what is the need of D? Why D is important? There is a thing called nature of roots. So till now we have seen the roots are only integer, -4, -2, this and that. We solved so many things and we have always got roots as integer, right? But it is not necessary that roots are always integer. You have seen the quadratic formula, right? In which we calculate that minus b plus minus under root b square minus 4ac, and b square minus 4ac is, it is not necessary, like that would be always perfect square. It can anything, if this is 17, if this is 19, b square minus 4ac can be 19, can be 17, can be 21. These numbers are not perfect, no, perfect square, right? So in this case, there would be no real roots, right? There would be real roots. There would be no integer roots, right? So if we need to tell that d, if nature of roots, like roots are real, roots are roots are integer, roots are similar or not, because I told you that guys that roots can be same also and roots can be different also, right? Roots can be one also and at most two. So roots of any quadratic equation can be one or two, right? So if there is it is based on the value of d. If d is greater than 0, that means roots are real and unequal. Simple. If d is greater than 0, roots are real and unequal, right? If d is less than 0, correct, roots are imaginary and unequal, right? And if d is equal to 0, then then roots are real and equal. So there are three cases. D is always a value, right? There is some value. D would have b square minus 4ac. So if d is greater than 0, then roots are real. If d is less than 0, then roots are imaginary and unequal. And if d is equal to 0, so nature of roots are nothing. Nature of roots are nothing but just information about the root, that root will be real or unequal or same or not or imaginary or what, right? So this is the three conditions you need to keep in mind, that to tell the nature of roots just by looking at the equation, right? So there would be no sense in calculating the roots to just check that whether the roots are imaginary or not, right? If in examination you are told that tell me the roots are real or imaginary, so why would you calculate both of the roots and they'll see and that yeah, it's imaginary? Why would you do all this stuff? Just calculate d is equal to b square minus 4ac, right? So if you calculate d and if d is greater than 0, then you can easily tell that it is real and unequal, right? Just check an example. Just let's check an example. I am writing a random equation here, plus 7, right? Let's calculate. This is 4. This is 4. So d is b square minus 4ac. B is minus 4. B square minus 4 ac. A is 1. C is 7, right? Minus 4 0 is 16. Minus 28. D square minus 12. Correct? Minus 12 is less than 0. Means d is less than 0. D is less than 0. This means roots are imaginary, right? And unequal as well, right? So roots are imaginary and unequal. So we have also seen the example why d is important and why we can easily tell just without calculating the roots, that the roots will be real, imaginary or equal or not, right? Otherwise, if you would know, you would have not known what is d, then you guys would have calculated the roots and then you would have tell that yeah, there are both the roots, both are unequal and both are imaginary. That would take a lot of time, and in board examination or any competitive examination, this time would be very valuable for you, right? So what we have seen till now: definition, general form, roots, methods to find the roots, then some tricks. What are the tricks? Sum of the roots is minus b by a, product of roots are c by a, correct? And then d, what is discriminant and how we can use that? How we can use that? To find the nature of roots, right? Correct. Now we have seen all that. Now we would see another thing, which is graphs. Graph of quadratic equation. Now you guys will tell that yeah, why you need to draw the graph, what we need to draw the graph, why we would need if we have find roots and everything. But in some cases, if you need to realize, you need to analyze something, right? In some of the cases you would need these graphs to analyze an equation. So in this kind of scenario, you would need graph of quadratic equation. So these things are important, right? So now let's take it simple. This is a x y axis, right? If two roots are equation are alpha and beta here, right? So remember guys, if equation quadratic equation has two roots, the graph will cut x-axis twice, right? If quadratic equation has two roots, the graph will cut x-axis twice, and if the quadratic equation has one root, then graph will just cut x-axis once. Means cut was, if we cannot say cut, we will just touch, because the graph of quadratic equation is always a parabola. Keep in mind that graph of quadratic equation is parabola always. Always the graph of quadratic equation would be a parabola, right? So if quadratic equation has two roots, graph will be like this. This is beta, right? This is the graph of quadratic equation. There would be another case. This also. This can also be the graph, right? I have not seen upward parabola, downward parabola, right? So there can be upward parabola also, downward parabola also. There can be any graph of the quadratic equation, right? So it would cut the x-axis at both of his or its roots, right? So alpha and beta are the roots of the quadratic equation. It will cut x-axis as alpha and beta. And if there is only one root, alpha, alpha and beta both are same. In this case, it would be like this. Just touch the x-axis as alpha, or it would be downward parabola as well. It can be downward parabola. So it will just touch the x-axis in this case, right? Now let's make a graph. X square plus 3x plus 2. Let's find the roots of this equation. Plus, we'll use factorize method, right? This is plus here, so find the factors of 2 in such a manner that its sum is 3. So 2x plus 2, right? X common, x plus 2 plus 1, x plus 2. So x plus 2, x plus 1, right? So x is equal to minus 1, or minus 2. So roots, we have found the roots. Roots of this equation is minus 1 and minus 2. Minus 1 is here, minus 2 is here. Now, you guys would be having a question here. Mr. Math, whether will you draw the parabola upward or downward? Right? So this would be decided based upon the value of A. What is A? A for apple, but not that A. This A. Ax square plus bx plus c, right? General form of the quadratic equation is ax square plus bx plus c. So this A, here A is 1, right? Sorry, I forgot. So here A is 1, right? So A is 1 here. A is 1 here. So it would be positive, right? A is 1. So we just need to find the sign. What is the sign? Sign of A is positive, then it would be upward parabola always. And if sign of A is negative, it would be downward parabola. So in our case, A is positive, so it would be upward parabola. Its graph would be like this. Remember guys, always keep in mind that D, oh sorry, roots, if roots are 2, then it would cut x-axis twice, and if value of a is positive, then it would be upward parabola, and if value of a is negative, then it would be downward parabola. Okay, you just need to keep in mind two things. Now what if the equation has imaginary root? We have now the roots can be real or imaginary, right? In case of real, if a is greater than 0, it is upward parabola. If a is less than 0, it is downward parabola. Correct? This is the case for real numbers. So you can make the graph of any real number, right? If roots are real, then you can make a graph of any quadratic equation. Now, if roots are imaginary, it means the roots would not lie on x-axis, correct? So if roots are not lie on the x-axis, it wouldn't cut x-axis, right? If there are no roots at x-axis, it would not cut x-axis. So when roots are imaginary, it means d less than 0, right? You guys remember that? If d is less than 0, then roots are imaginary, right? Imaginary and unequal. So if d is less than 0, graph would not cut x-axis. And this a, the condition for a is always, it is universal, whether roots are imaginary or not. So if a is greater than 0 here, the graph would be like this. Upward parabola, it would be upward parabola, but it would not cut x-axis. And if a is less than 0 here, the graph would be like this. Okay guys, so if roots are real, so if roots are real and a is greater than 0, it would be upward parabola cutting the x-axis twice or once based upon the roots are equal or not, right? And if roots are real and a is less than 0, it would be downward parabola cutting the x-axis twice or once based upon the equality of roots, right? If roots are imaginary and a is greater than 0, it would not cut x-axis, but it would be upward parabola, correct? And if roots are imaginary and a is less than 0, the graph would be downward parabola and it would not cut x-axis, correct? So what you need to keep in mind that if roots are real, cut x-axis twice or once, Based upon if roots are equal, it would cut once or twice. If roots are imaginary, no cut of x-axis, right? If a is greater than 0, it is upward. If a is less than 0, downward. So just keep in mind these things. You would always be able to graph any parabola, any quadratic equation, right? So if you keep in mind this thing, you will always able to sketch the graph of any quadratic equation, right? So this is the quite a long lecture. So we would end up here, and in the next lecture we will solve some example to make our concepts more robust, right? We would exercise some of the problems and it would feel you more comfortable in quadratic equation, right? So what we have seen, first we have seen the definition. What is the definition? The quadratic equation is the equation with the one variable and that variable would be having highest power 2. Then the general form ax square plus bx plus c, where a is not equal to 0 and abc belongs to R. Then roots. What are the roots? The value of x for which quadratic equation is 0, right? Roots can be 1 or 2, right? Or it can be real or imaginary, right? And then method to find roots, factorization and quadratic formula. Factorization, there are two cases. If sign of c is negative, then find the factors of c in such a manner that if we subtract both of them we get b. And if sign of c is positive, then find the factors of c in such a manner that if we add both of them we will get b, right? So this is the factorization. Another method is quadratic formula. What is the quadratic formula? Minus b plus minus under root d by 2a. What is d? D is discriminant. D is b square minus 4ac, right? So this is the then some tricks. What are the tricks? Sum of roots is b by a and product of roots is c by a. Then d. What is d? D is discriminant. D is b square minus 4ac. And what we need, what is the use of d? We can tell the nature of roots. If d is greater than 0, then roots are real and unequal. If d is less than 0, roots are imaginary and unequal. And if d is equal to 0, then roots are real and equal, right? Then we learned how we can sketch the graph of any quadratic equation, and we can do that based upon some information, right? So if d is greater than 0, it means roots are real. It would cut x-axis once or twice based upon the equality of roots, right? If d is greater than equal to 0, right? Basically, if d is less than 0, then it would not cut x-axis. Now, it would be upward parabola or downward parabola. We can tell based upon the value of a. If a is greater than 0, then it would be upward parabola. And if a is less than 0, it would be a downward parabola. This concludes quadratic equation. See you guys in my next lecture. Then in the next lecture, we will solve some of the examples of